Hey, Luke, thanks for reaching out. I got your email with the questions that you asked, and I thought it'd be easier to convey my feelings and ideas about the questions you asked via video instead of an email response. One thing I find is it's easier for me to kind of share from my heart, and also you can just see the expressions on my face and whatever emotion is there versus, emails kind of static and impersonal. And then the other thing is I tend to answer the same questions a lot. And so by making a video for you, I know I'll be able to recycle this. And in this case, I'll probably actually put it on my site. So Luke, you asked me two questions in your email. One was, how long from the time I flipped the switch until I saw a change in my wife, in the way she acted towards me. And the second thing you asked was, how long after flipping that same switch was it until I started to experience the kind of relationship that I wanted. And then I just want to know that you made the statement that you felt like it was kind of an outcome dependent thing to ask, but you wanted to know anyway. And I thought, hey, that's really great that you were that vulnerable and willing to share that you saw yourself as outcome dependent in asking that question. But I want to just point out that desiring an outcome and being dependent on an outcome are two different things. And I think we don't talk about that enough. And so a lot of men kind of sheepishly apologize and hesitate to say that they want a certain outcome in life because they feel like they're approaching on outcome dependence. But they're not the same thing. In fact, I would say if you don't actually want an outcome, you're definitely never going to receive it, right? So it's just kind of idea. We have to have vision. We have to have something to set our minds on in the future, but it needs to be a positive thing. And so I just want to encourage you with that. Don't be afraid to want the outcomes in life that you want. Wanting a deeply connected, emotional, intimate relationship with a partner is a good thing, and it's not something that we should be like, I don't care, I don't give a you know what about that. We should want that. That's what we're after. The difference is we can't live a life where if we don't get things we want, we can't see anything else worthwhile in living, especially when it comes to a relationship, because most of us, the reason we have the questions that you had is because we have kind of zeroed in on life. We've zeroed in on our sense of well-being and purpose as men, as it being about a female or about a connected relationship. And that doesn't serve us. The problem there is not outcome dependence. The problem there is a lack of purpose that stems back to a lack of knowing who we are and what our value and worth and significance are as men. And so that's the real issue that we must address as men. And when we address it, life is no longer about females. It's not about getting the woman to somehow make us feel whole and complete. Because the reality is, brother, if you don't feel whole and complete without a woman now, you won't feel whole and complete with one. It doesn't matter what woman you have. You could have 100 women. There's just no answer there because you're not incomplete now. And I know what it is to feel like that, but that's not the case. So getting to your questions, how long was it after I kind of flipped the switch before I saw a change in my wife? So I have to kind of sort of extrapolate or guess or surmise what flip the switch might mean in your context. And so let me tell you what switch I did flip. The switch I flipped was the switch of thinking that my well-being and my worth and my value and my significance were somehow outside of myself, and that I had a dependency on another human being to find that. So for me, that was the switch that flipped. And the one thing with the switch metaphor is it makes it sound like, this moment it was off and this moment it was on. And I would say that switch was more of a slowly switching switch in multiple areas of my life over a period of, decades. The last one that happened to switch that was significant to my relationship was the view that the things I wanted in a partner were not outside of me. They were inside of me. So as that switch still continues to flip and unfold, then I would say, Luke, that I see my wife change as I change. And it's pretty much in a lockstep because it's about me changing. It has nothing to do with my wife changing. That's the switch that needed to flip for me. I had always been, I'm talking like 2 decades, of the mindset that my wife just, she wasn't pitching in what she needed to pitch in. I don't mean like, chores and responsibilities. I mean that she was just incapable of bringing to the relationship the level of energy, passion, excitement, blah, 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 that I needed her to bring to feel happy, right? And so the relationship for me was a big fat question mark in my head. Now I see the complete lunacy of thinking it was somehow okay for me to hold my relationship with a big question mark, but have this expectation that she should have absolute certainty and just be all in a relationship. That's just crazy. That's crazy because that question mark for me was hesitation, and the female is going to intuitively sense that hesitation and respond in hesitation because the female energy is a responding energy. So that kind of goes back to your question about how long did my wife, Zelda, how long did it take for Zelda to kind of respond to that? And I would say, yeah, it's responding. So I saw change immediately, but the change was in me. And so I can't underscore this enough, that we don't need a change to happen in anyone else except ourselves, right? This is the big fat aha that men must get in order to have the life they want. They have to understand the life you want is in here. It's not out here. And so as that switch flips, and that's a revelation we grow in every day as we walk in that truth, then it creates a new reality around us, because if you're married, then or in a relationship, you start bringing in action out of yourself that the feminine can respond to. And so the more I bring out that truth and I manifest that in my day-to-day interactions with people, my communication, my warmth, the way I interact with my wife, then I'm giving her something new to react to. So I started to see change immediately. Now, if someone was saying, how long is it going to be before I see change? My immediate feedback would be, you're not actually changing on the level that you think you are, if that's the question, because I didn't look at all to see what was happening with my wife. I got so completely, not inward in a bad way, but I just became only concerned about who am I? What do I need, and who do I need to be, just to be living the life I want to live. Like, if I was the last man on planet Earth, I would have done the same stuff had nobody else lived here, right? Because it was really about getting to a point where change needed to happen inside of me, right? And that's the kind of change that the female can respond to. The next thing you asked was like, how long did it take until I started to get the relationship that I wanted? And I'm still on that journey. I know our relationship is growing every day, and it continues to grow. But that too, because it's a response to the work that's happening in me, the work that's happening in my wife. The relationship itself is not it's just what two people bring to the table. And so if I lead the energy of change towards self-acceptance, high regard for self, which is what I would say is the number one thing I've learned about self-work, is to show yourself high regard, then I naturally show my wife high regard, and so she has something to respond to. And as we're both kind of operating in this space, Luke, the result is we have a connected relationship. It's deeper, it's more intimate, it's more loving, it's more tender. There's a lot of really great things to that, right? And so, but it's the fruit of something, right? And it started happening also immediately, but it happens in, again, lockstep with what else is going on. Your relationship and the kind of relationship that you have with your wife, I have with my wife, it's just a fruit at the end of the day of what we think. And so what I focus on in my mentoring with men is getting back to the root of the the thinking that we have and what it's built on, and addressing that. Because if we don't like the results we have in life, way up here on what I call the pyramid of success, thanks to my friend Dr. Charlie Cartwright, then we have a foundation problem. And the problem is our thinking. Our foundation of our thinking is all sorts of jacked up. And so it's produced the results we have. If we want new results, we don't try to have new results. We have to go all the way back to the beginning. And again, that's what I focus on in my mentoring. If you want to talk personally about your situation, I'd love to talk to you. You can, hit me up on my webpage. I have a thing at the very top under contacts that you could schedule a free mentoring session. I hope this has been helpful to you. I totally relate to your situation and what it's like to just be super frustrated, waiting for your wife or spouse to change because you feel like you're kind of on pause. You feel like you're in limbo. You feel like your life is kind of and that's a miserable way to live. But it's a way that we can immediately step out of with really just a change in our thinking. So I hope, again, it's been helpful. Thanks for honoring me by sending me your question. And I hope to talk to you soon, brother. Take care.